Hi, I'm Leah Turner, and I'm with McMahon on keys. Thank you. I heard it was crazy yesterday.
It was a lot yesterday.
Well, the hotel was crazy yesterday.
Right.
They had, as much as everybody was coming in,
People were leaving.
they had something going on. So they had 1,000 people in the lobby at one time.
No way.
The valet
Well,
was
I mean, that's
horrible.
what I was told
Yeah.
by one
wild.
of the valets. Yeah.
Whoa.
So fortunately, we
know.
got in early, so we skipped a whole lot of that. but,
Right.
Yeah, we didn't
That
have
is
to
wild.
have to jump
1,000
into a lot
people
of it.
in a lobby.
So
And it's a big lobby, but it's not that big.
Yeah, I know.
yeah,
You know.
we're good.
Yay. Heck yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Well, we are back at CRS 2024. Jeff McMahon, Maddie True,
Yay.
and we are here with Leah Turner,
Hello.
who you were saying this is your first day here this time around.
This year. Yes.
But I know that I have seen you at CRS in the past.
Yes.
So now I know that you have done a lot of this stuff. This is our first time to be here.
Oh, okay.
In this capacity.
Okay.
But since I last saw you at CRS, I was at the time with a friend of mine that I think is a friend of yours, Austin Webb.
Oh, yeah.
So we were, whoa. That was exciting.
Wow. We're already shaking stuff up.
I really
Heck
thought that was
yeah.
going to go over.
Could you imagine?
I was waiting for it.
God. Oh, my God. We died at CRS 2024. Oh. Kidding.
But no, you were here doing CRS at that time, and I know your music has changed somewhat since then.
Yes.
So at the time, you were much more kind of either, and I kind of want you to explain this to us. You were either by choice or feeling like you should belong in a place that ultimately you came to think different. You were more kind of a pop country vibe at the time, and then at some point I'm assuming kind of acquiesced into what felt more comfortable.
Right.
I'm not sure. That's just kind of what it looks like.
Yeah.
So you remember the time period I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So kind of lay the groundwork for where we are.
Yeah, so, well, I think just number one, as an artist, you have to always continue to grow, right? And if you don't continue to grow, you become stagnant. And then what happens when things become stagnant, they rot, right?
Sure.
So you never want to stay stagnant. During that time, I don't think that country music was ready for the other half of who I am.
Right.
And now country music is ready. I've always wanted to embrace both sides of who I am, and I've always been very open about the fact that, I'm half cowgirl and I'm half Mexicana. But I think country music now, there's been so much more diversity coming in.
Right.
And that... I've been doing this sound for about 5 years.
Right.
But it was just time to be able to stand on both of my feet and embrace both sides of who I am, because it makes me a 100% of who I am.
Sure.
And a lot of times people don't really understand or realize that the Mexicano culture, Latino culture, has been so prevalent in country music. There would be no rodeo without the vaqueros, which were the first cowboys.
Sure.
And a lot of the American cowboys traditions come from the vaqueros. Rodeo is a Spanish word, arriata is a Spanish word, dalehuete is a Spanish word. Just even down to, they're always talking about Mexico, and there's always a señorita drinking tequila, and yada yada yada. So they've always been dancing for a very long time, the two cultures, and mirroring one another. And for me to be an American cowgirl raised by a real cowboy in the rodeo, and then to be second generation Mexican American, to come in and really represent those two cultures and actually have the sangre in my veins, the blood in my veins, to really put both of those at the forefront is exciting and an honor. And so I've been able to embrace both sides.
That's awesome.
So when you did, you said that people are more open to it now.
Yeah.
That can be true. I'm not saying it's not true.
Right.
But I don't think you knew that when you made your pivot. I mean, I would have to think that you still felt like it was risky, but a choice you wanted to make.
Yeah, I just knew that I've always prided myself in being authentic, and I've
Right.
always, really been very proud of, the authenticity of being who you are. What you see is what you get.
Right.
And I was able now to be able to take the reins of who I am in my career. And I think that when you break barriers and when you kick down walls, because that's what you have to do to be in the business, just period. When you go ahead and do that, really special things happen, and you can really spread across a demographic that sometimes people didn't even know was there.
Right.
And you can also open people's eyes to things that, like, hey, I didn't even know that I liked that when there's something new.
Right. Sure.
And I've always I've come from a family of fighters. My grandparents, my mom's side, they came over from Mexico to here to have, a better life and give everyone, my tios and my tias a better life, and, my mom as well. And then my dad is just a cowboy, and he's tough as all get out, you know what I mean? So fighting is in my blood, and shaking things up is in my blood. And so that's just what I chose to do. And a lot of Mexicanos and Latinos, they love country music, and I had my agency pull all the stats of what that looks like, and I think it said something like 11.8 million Latinos listen to Sam Hunt.
Right.
And so, like, crazy, and I think the trajectory of the number that it was going to spread was like 12 million or something.
Now, when you're
insane.
pulling these numbers, is this, when you're having this conversation, is this as you're getting ready to do your first Latino-based song?
Well, it's really me, telling the team, because at first they're like, but no one knows Spanish. And I'm like, well, then, that's half of
Right.
the United States. Yes, they do. Yeah. Like, what are you talking about? Like, yes, they do.
Right.
So it was really me coming to them saying, like, listen, this is what it is, and it's going to work.
Sure.
Yeah.
And not only do I look like the normal, for lack of a better, word, look like the normal country artist, blonde hair, fair skin, blue eyes, blah, 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 or dark hair, whatever.
Right.
I also have the blood of the other demographic that we want to rope in, and so that was me kind of saying to them, like, this is going to work, and the Latino music, if you have reggaeton and you have like, rancho music, like all of that music has really come over and really started taking over just all music, period.
Yes.
Viva la raza.
But okay, but I'm trying to understand how that transition happens.
I just did it.
For you. Well, okay.
I just said, let's do it.
Well, but
Put on some accordion. Let's do this.
well, but to compare it to the first thing that comes to mind, which was the Linda Ronstadt projects, where she was also running up against a brick wall.
Yep.
And she did all of that.
Yep.
Now, she did not, when she released all of her Latino stuff, she was doing full-blown Latino performances.
She did mariachi.
Right. It was not her doing her first Latin single and going out and doing a show with her other hits.
Right.
Now, how did you, maybe you did the same thing, but you had some notable traffic already. Were you trying to introduce your existing fan base one song at a time?
Yeah.
Did you go out and do full-blown Latin shows?
Yeah.
How did you do that?
I'm just implementing, I guess implementing and educating and reintroducing myself to the already existing. And then with the way that everything kind of correlates and mirrors one another, it's been kind of a seamless transition, because I've always said I have Tabasco running through my veins. I've always said I'm Mexicana. I've always said, I've never been like, oh, I'm just a cowgirl. I've always kind of put it. But what I did do is I embraced, my full name, and my full name is Leah Turner, because my dad's white, so I got the white last name.
Right.
But my middle name is my mom's maiden name. And so I kind of just, just put that out there at first, and then people were like, oh, this is different. Like, Garvan, like, what is that? Then it started the conversation, and I was like, well, I'm half Mexican, and we're going to start embracing those roots and that stuff in, my music. And then it kind of just starts snowballing there, and then I just went for it.
So talk about some of the songs specifically. Did you find certain songs easier to make the transition with because the lyric or the story behind it was easier to kind of thread the needle between both cultures?
Yeah, well, so on the EP that I released before this one that's coming out and the 2 songs that are out now, I named it Lost in Translation. And I named it Lost in Translation because my parents got married in a time where you didn't marry outside your race. And my dad's blonde hair, blue-eyed, and my mom's this beautiful Mexicana, right? And what they did is they didn't look on what's on the outside, they looked on what was on the inside, right? And so they let hearts be seen, vibes be felt, chemistry be felt. And if you really look at someone's heart, nothing can get lost in translation, good or bad, right? If you're just looking on the outside, a lot can get lost in translation because you're not taking the time, and so that was my transition there, saying like, hey, like we all, like for me, everyone looks at me face value, I'm just a white girl, but if you really get to know me, or it makes sense that I talk with my whole body, you know what I mean? And then you go, wait, then I'm like, oh, I'm Mexicana, and then they'll be like, oh, that makes sense, Once you take a moment to really get beneath the skin, nothing can get lost in translation. So that was like my segue there, and telling my parents' love story, and that can go for anyone. A lot of people sacrifice a lot of things for love, and that's what my parents did, and that's what my grandparents did, and so that's where I'm sitting here talking about being Mexicana and a cowgirl in country music, and that was that segue of like, hey, let's get past the outer, let's get to the inner, and nothing will get lost in translation.
So I love the idea of that, and the I'm sure it became a very easy way to kind of introduce that message to your audiences. What kind of results have you seen from your audience?
Yeah.
Did you lose people, gain people? Did it all just grow?
Right.
Does everybody kind of inherently kind of jump on board with a little more commitment because they see the authenticity of it? I mean, what do you think is the upshot of it?
Well, there was some pushback, like LA Times did like a really big article on me, and there was a lot of people, one side saying like, leave your Mexican music out, we have country music. And then there was, some Mexicans, or Latinos that were saying, she's white, it's not a win for us, right? So you go back and forth to that pushback. But that's been my whole entire life. Like, I've never been Mexicana enough, and I've never been white enough. Like, I'm half, you know what I mean? Like, so I've always had to just be like, I am who I am, and that's what it is, you know? Like, I can't please everyone, right? But as I continued to go and really showed like that it wasn't me just all of a sudden deciding to be like, oh, I'm Mexican because I want to pull that card. People really felt that like I am Mexican. I am Mexicana hasta las cachas. I am Mexicana, And then I also am, a cowgirl. I'm white. It started resonating with both sides, and people really embraced it. And I was nervous at times that Mexicanos that look like my mom, that look like my cousins, that they weren't going to really embrace me, because, I'm güera, I'm a gringa, but when you're around or you hear me talk or it goes, you can really tell that I am, and they have like really had my back more than, and I'm so grateful.
Right.
Like they have been like, oh, she can come to that carne, like si se puede, like, like she can come to the barbecue, and like we can do it, which is si se puede means. And that's been a seamless, it hasn't been seamless, but it's been encouraging and I've been embraced. And I think anytime you do something different, people are going to give you a pushback. You just got to be stronger to push back even harder. Right. And so that's where it's at. And I don't really care.
Well, and ultimately, those people that are pushing back, they've probably got Beyonce at the top of their country playlist right now.
Right, exactly.
I remember when people were pushing back on Faith Hill because they thought her album wasn't going to be country enough. And only a couple of years later, Bon Jovi was performing on the CMT Awards.
It's just like, I understand tradition, and I love keeping tradition. But if you don't grow, like we started earlier,
if you don't adapt,
you don't adapt, then you're just going to be stuck,
Yeah.
And you can't do that because then you're going to lose a whole generation and you're going to lose a whole demographic, you know? And you can keep the tradition in the lyrics and keep the tradition in the way that you do things, but you have to adapt to where the music is, you know, and you can educate on, you know, Waylon and Willie and, you know, Garth and George Strait and Trisha, and not that they're in the
and
past.
Johnny Rodriguez and Freddie Fender
and Rick Trevino and all of that stuff that you can, you know, educate that, but you got to move with the times. And the time is now where Latinos are hearing country music, and there's a lot of diversity that's come, and even people think it's cool to be a cowboy now, and I'm like, well, can I say the S word? Sorry.
You're
well,
good.
crap. It's so bad. It's so bad.
Fine.
I was cowboy before it was cool. You know what I mean? So even there, you're going to get pushed back no matter where you're at and what you're doing.
If there wasn't going to be people pushing back, they wouldn't have a job as a critic.
You know?
So, I mean, and I don't like everything.
Me either.
I don't want anybody to like everything I do because then you have zero judgment.
You know, and zero room to grow. Because some of it can be constructive criticism, and some of it you just go, cool. No, thank you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You have that choice. Yeah. And so I've been blessed to be embraced by both sides of who I am and both demographics. And we're just getting started. And I have some really cool opportunities coming up with some Latino artists to do duets with them. I did that duet with Jared Neiman on South of the Border. And just really being able to also show that, you know, Mexicanos aren't just like tequila, salt, and pesos in Mexico.
Right.
You know? Like, there's a lot more. There's, you know, family and there's faith and there's hard work that also makes the fabric of who Mexicanos are and also what the country demographic is as well.
Right. Well, I appreciate that you feel like you've found a path that you're more comfortable with.
Yeah.
Ahora necesito practicar mi español.
Oh, qué bueno.
Para entender sus canciones mejor.
Oh. Muy bien, muy
Is that
bien.
okay?
Muy bien. Yeah, it was really
pretty
good.
close?
It was very close. Muy bien.
Just don't start talking back to me. I
Yeah.
had to think about that for a little while.
I know. But
Thank you for finding time for us.
Thank you for having me.
Let everybody know. You said you've got a new project that's not out yet, but it's coming.
Yes.
So make sure they know how to find that project, how to track your stuff down.
Okay. Well, right now I have a single called T-Shirt Out, and you can stream it on all DSPs, all the things, save, share, whatever you guys do, stream. And then you can go to Leah Turner Music on all social platforms and be able to find and keep up all the news what we have going on in the next couple of months.
Leah Turner, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Muchas gracias.
Appreciate you.
Muchas gracias.
Yes.
Mucho gusto.
Thank you.
This is nice to meet you.
Gracias.
Of course.
Gracias. Igualmente.
Que le vaya bien.
Hey y'all, I'm Maddie True. For more clips from CRS, click the top button. And for more episodes, including live performances from the podcast, click the bottom button. I'm with McMahon on keys.